Good morning, Last City. Stanley here with you, and the Traveler has conveyed the divine words of the beings known as Bungie. Every Thursday, the capricious gods who hold our universe in the palm of their hands update us on their activities with the casual delivery of a college girl's baking blog. This week, the Traveler has a lot to inform us, and good God, do I mean a lot. R.I.P. to my voice. The first thing Bungie wishes to remind Guardians is that the Festival of the Lost starts next week, along with the candy hoarding party to commemorate fallen Guardians, mainly Cade. F.U. Aldrin. Tess has broken out the Halloween ornaments. Legends say these pay-to-win outfits give you faster frames, especially if they have RGB, and this definitely isn't a Mobile Suit Gundam copyright infringement, okay? It's totally different, definitely. Not the same. No infringement here. Moving on, in other news, the following destination materials can no longer be obtained: Dusk-like Charge, Microphasic Dado Lettuce, Helium Filaments Byron Bow, Spin Metal Leaves, and Glacial Starwort. That said, these mats won't fully deprecate. More on this matter later. As for why they're being phased out, it's to create a simpler economy with the end goal of making Destiny more approachable to the kindergartens and returning seniors with their creaky knees and bad hips. On that front, reducing the number of currencies players need to keep track of should help. Also, this creates more inventory space, and we all know we need it. By God, do we need it. For those worried about material exchange, rest assured, Master Let Me Turn Your Exotic Anagram into a Blue Raoul will continue to accept your unneeded mats for Glimmer, though at a lower exchange rate. Now Raoul will trade you 5k Glimmer for 20 mats and 250 Glimmer for individual materials. Come Season 19, this will be the sole use of Destination mats. Meanwhile, Legendary Shards for Glimmer exchange rate remains unchanged. Now let's have a moment of silence for the fastest and easiest method to stock up on Glimmer. For Bungie giveth and Bungie taketh. On the giveth side, public events, especially Heroics, will drop more Glimmer than before. Heroics will award between 10 to 12.5k, while normal events pay out 3,300 to 4,645 Glimmer. Glimmer boost mods will further amplify the rewards, though compared to mashing one button at the Cryptarch to make 250k instantaneously, it's a little depressing. How dare you make Guardians work for their paycheck? The nerve! The nerve! But, thankfully, this destination material retirement means Guardians no longer have to panic across the galaxy or tower to obtain the necessary materials to purchase upgrades. Everybody thank the big floaty ball in the sky. Praise the NASA, y'all. Furthermore, those ghost planetary mods that Guardians probably didn't even know they still had are also being launched into Oryx's chassis. Eris actually found a way to turn these deprecated mods into an exotic weapon. More on that later. This next update is for the bounty hunters. Failsafe and Daddy Devrim will now offer 4 dailies instead of 3. But does anyone even do bounties that aren't from Banshee, Eris Finch, and Alinsky Moses? Be honest, you forgot Nessus existed, didn't you? I know I did. Furthermore, Daddy Devrim and Sassy Ship AI will no longer sell sunsetted weapons, so get those lackluster planetary weapons while you can. Lastly, there will no longer be reputation rank requirements to purchase items from these two vendors. Additionally, ghost shells and emblems can be purchased directly from them for 10 legendary shards each. Moving on, from the nerdy destination materials that only a Swetsicle could love, we have weapon changes. And by Crota's left nut, is there a lot to cover. First up is auto rifles. In general PvP playlists, autos have a 25% usage, but fall to a mere 13% in trials where people actually want to win. Try not to think about the 600 RPM or 450 high cal meta. Push it from your mind, okay? It's a bad dream. It didn't happen. I mean, your KDs and KDAs remember, but pretend it doesn't exist, like all your other issues. To avoid a repeat of those dark times, Bungie hath decreed autos shall have an increased ease of use with a substantial stability buff in their optimal range. Though given how stable 450s are, instead of a stability increase, they will instead get a crit damage buff. Headshots will now do 31 instead of 30. Bows, on the other hand, are receiving a minor debuff. This nerf targets swapping speeds to hamper those bow hand cannon combo fun haters from dominating everywhere. Lightweight frames will now take 0.3 seconds to stow, up from 0.2. Likewise, precision frames now require 0.33 seconds, up from 0.2 seconds. Ideally, this change will give players a better chance of fighting back against the damn bow combos that are just no fun to fight. Let's be honest. No one likes fighting them. They're annoying. Moving on to pulse rifles, they will also be rebalanced. First off, lightweights and adaptive pulses will receive a 5% handling buff. Meanwhile, high impact and rapid fire pulses will be hit with a 2% handling nerf, which honestly sounds pretty minuscule. As for damage falloff, based on the range stat, 0 range is reduced from 6 meters to 15 meters, while 100 range remains unchanged. Honestly, I have no idea what that means, but they don't pay me to know. They don't even pay me at all. 390 pulses, on the other hand, are specifically receiving a crit damage buff. They will now do 31 to the face instead of 30, so Guardians running less than 4 resilience can now be 2-bursted. Finally, we have the Meta King, Peace of Mind. It is getting nerfed. Kinda, sorta, not really. Peace's base zoom is reduced from 19 to 18. Hopefully this is enough to prevent it from sniping everything but scouts at range, though it's still gonna be silly good. It's Peace of Mind. It's silly, and it's gonna continue being silly. As for scout rifle users, all 2 of you, you'll be saddened to know high impact frames are getting nerfed. Jade Rabbit was a true menace, just utterly dominating the meta. Totally the top weapon type and not at all outperformed by other guns. 150 RPMs will deal 40 to the body, down from 42, and 70 to the head, down from 73. I'm sorry, but if a Guardian is running low resilience, they deserve to get obliterated by a slow rate of fire weapon. That's just Darwinism. On to sidearms. Sidearm users will feel that sweet, sweet Bungie love in the form of a 30% increase in auto-aim fall-off distance. This change will mainly be felt by sidearms without rangefinder. Now, can you say trespasser buff? Oh, Jesus, I am starting to regret my decision to cover the TWAB right now. But on to SMGs. Bungie discovered certain SMGs can be used outside of their effective range. Which one of you rats snitched? I'm telling Drifter. Oh God, I'll become the snitch. You either die a shotgun ape or live long enough to see yourself become the snitch. Forgive me. Forgive me. Anywho, Bungie discovered lightweight SMGs overlap too heavily with adaptive frames, so they will make some small tweaks. In general, the damage fall-off end of the SMGs is reduced from 24 meters to 23 across all archetypes. While on the targeted side of things, precision frames got a damage buff. Body shots will deal 17 instead of 16, and headshots will now deal 23.8 instead of 22.4. However, Shiera's, both normal and adept, as well as friction fire, received a zoom nerf of 15 from 16. Meanwhile, lightweight SMG runners will shed a fake tear at their inbound damage nerf. Body shots now deal 10.85 down from 11, whereas headshots will deal 17.9 instead of 18.2. If you round hard enough, those numbers are basically the same thing, and are unchanged. Now, are you tired of precision frame fusions, deleting you the moment you start to look in the general direction? Well, I have good news. These monsters have their intrinsic recoil direction perk reduced by 50%. Though I doubt it'll affect adept fusions too much, but RIP main ingredient havers. Yeah, my apologies and condolences. Now remember that asshole with a glaive whose shield you couldn't break without yeeting a thunder-crashing titan straight at them? Well, he's getting nerfed. Suck it, nerd. Guardians will now do 25% more damage to glaive shields, though resistances to supers and PvE enemies remain unchanged. Snipers, on the other hand, receive both a buff and a nerf. Settle time after flinch is increased by 60%, so sights won't immediately return to the poor Guardian's head that thinks they flinched the sniper out of a headshot. On the PvE front, flinch is reduced so you can continue doing minimal boss damage and be shamed by your raid members. We then have trace rifles. They exist, that's all. Moving on! We kid. Trace rifles have their stability effect on recoil reduction increased by 10% at the low end of the stat and 25% at the high end. The goal is to make the laser beam you're firing actually feel like a laser beam and not a wet noodle in dire need of Viagra. How is this twab still not over? Someone take away Bungie's phone privileges for a week. Rockets, though decent in PvP, have lagged behind linears and GLs. To address this, rockets get a 0.4 blast radius increase, #make baller horn great again. With weapons finally out of the way, it's time for perks. Gutshot, straight, the perk no one likes, the perk that is like discovering a lump on your breast or testicle, is not being changed at all. No bus for you. Instead, its audio cue will be removed. I have so many questions. First off, who is actually using this perk to be annoyed by its audio? Second, who is using this perk? And third, just why? Rangefinder, however, is actually being addressed. No longer will Guardians receive a 20% bonus aim assist fall off, but don't panic. The perk will still be dumb good, just not full spoiled child special. Specific exotics are also receiving changes. Jade Rabbit had one thing going for it. It stuck to targets like Gorilla Glue in hair. Will the cruel god Bungie update its glorious Headseeker exotic perk, or will they nerf its aim assist? If you guessed nerf the aim assist, then you're correct! It's a scout. That's damage perk is never used. Let it have the aim assist. Come on now. Now, did Lord of Wolves being nerfed into the ground put you on uninstalling the game watch? Well, good news for you. The Traveler has informed us that during Release the Wolves, its accuracy penalty is now only 3 times reduction compared to 10. Rogue kicked that 50% crit reduction out of existence and added a 40% PvP damage buff on top of it, as well as a full auto as an intrinsic perk. But to balance things out, the 25% universal base damage buff is undone. Sadly now, Bungie has decreed, "No time to explain has been too dominant in PvP. Every Trials week, it's topped the kill charts. But before you rage and scream on the forums, keep in mind, this nerf is only recoil direction and aim assist. Recoil control is to be reduced from 90 to 73, while aim assist is reduced from 45 to 40. Just throw on a targeting mod in your helmet and you'll be fine. So calm down. On the other end of the spectrum, there's Risk Runner, a niche weapon that only sees use in certain mobs. So of course, it needed a PvP nerf. Arc Superconductor's damage reduction receives a giant hit to its effectiveness. Instead of a 50% reduction, it now only offers 15. Which one of you bullied a divine dev with Risk Runner? Which one of you did it? Come forth now. Tell the class. And for those curious about the future, Bungie is looking at tuning special linears with auto-aim reduction and flinch changes, machine gun balancing to be an actual option in the Crucible, reduce the difference between them and other heavies in PvE, make them less punishing for ad clear use, and remove the damage penalty to DMT at 5 stacks of Cranial Spike. Oh my god, at last! The TWAB is done. I think I've lost my voice after all that. Anyways, for all of us at Tower News, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, stay classy, and hashtag justice for Jade Rabbit.